Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me today. This is the latest in the Stepping Up series of shows from TAtech. Thank you very much for joining me, whether you're in the UK, Europe, or North America, or indeed anywhere else in the world. Thank you very much for joining us. The purpose of these shows is several-fold, if you like. Not only do we want to get beneath the surface of technology companies and find out what makes them tick, but we also want to find out what these organizations are doing to not only make the world of employment a better place, but the world in general a better place, because all organizations have a responsibility. And when we work in the human side of recruitment and HR, and we get involved in those sectors, then we're in a position to improve things for the better. So without too much further ado, I'd like to introduce my very special guest for today, Alex Fourlis, who is the president and managing director of Broadbean in the UK. Good afternoon, Alex. How are you?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Stephen, for the invitation and the opportunity to talk about our news.
It's great to see you, and yeah, this is monumental news. Certainly for people who have been following Broadbean in the UK for a long time, this is big news indeed. So to give us a bit of a baseline to go from, can you give me a little bit of background for yourself and for Broadbean, for anyone who might not know too much about Broadbean in the first place?
Yeah. Obviously, Broadbean has a long story in the UK recruitment tech scene. Started back in 2001. With Kelly Robinson and Dan McGuire and that group. Evolved over the years. Grew, became a household name in the staffing market as a multi-posting solution, and then developed the portfolio of solutions further with search, with eventually programmatic, ranking a whole host of services around posting and finding candidates. So that was our backstory. It was always we were always known for our pretty much for our very strong culture, forming really strong relationships, but also really I would say friendly relationships with our clients and the industry. As an integrator, we worked with job boards, publishers, and ATSs on both sides, and we are proud to have a very strong network of friends and partners across the industry.
Yeah, I've known Broadbean and from the very first days when the concept was ingeniously simple, that an organization like Broadbean could take a vacancy posted by a recruitment firm or an employer and send that to multiple job boards, and all of the responses by way of applications that came back, they would come via Broadbean, and Broadbean would forward them on to the advertiser. But in doing so, Broadbean would be able to determine which job boards were performing well, which weren't working well, and all of that data was gathered at that time on ways in which the advert could be made better, the place that you advertise the vacancy could be better, the time of day that you post vacancies could be improved. All of those things that help to refine the process. So I would say that Broadbean were a formative part of the growth of job boards in the UK, and of course when they expanded beyond that. There are other companies that try and do similar things or have done over the years. But in terms of a company, when I think about companies that have a personality themselves, then Broadbean is one of the first that comes to mind. So it's even though the company itself has evolved over the past 20 years, then I think that there's still that presence there, which is great.
And the fun anecdote of how I came to Broadbean is I came from the job board side. So I came from the, after the Career Builder acquisition, 4 or 5 years ago, when I was asked to take over the business. And I've worked my past 15 years in recruitment tech and job boards. And I was always, like I was saying, I was dreading the moment that an informed client, usually a staffing agency in the UK, would come armed with the Broadbean data to tell me if we were performing for them or not, right? So I definitely really appreciated the value of the service and the data as a job board partner. I understood it very well, and I was really honored when I came on board back in 2019, pretty much.
Absolutely. So, without dwelling on the previous owners of the company and so on, can you tell me a bit about your recent acquisition and what that means to the team and the technology?
Yeah. So our previous owners were a career builder group, obviously in the job board business, and there was always like I would say. The last years were owned by Apollo, a large private equity, and they were looking to pretty much like divest, eventually finish their investment in this sector, right? So a couple of years ago, we started the project of separating the business and finding a new home for Broadbean. And the key for me was to find a new owner that would look really at growing the business. Now, obviously, owning by private equity, the focus a lot of times is on profitability. I was looking at someone that had like a vision for the growth of the business, that was really looking at the technology transformation and digitalization that happens in our sector, and is at the forefront of that. So really boost our innovation, let's say, efforts. And then the third key characteristic for me was like to really boost our transition towards being also a programmatic provider in the market, because yes, we are in the job board market for the last 20 years. Yes, we are at the early stages. I would say still, if we look at the global, 36 billion market, there's still like a smaller percentage that is driven programmatically. But we would see that this is where the future lies, right? So we wanted to fulfill this criteria, and the last key for me was like somebody that was like close to us in terms of definitely the culture, and we were complementary to each other geographically and in terms of portfolio. So I think in that sense, we spoke with a lot of people in the industry over the last 12 months, but very quickly we felt that Veritone and PandoLogic were the right partners, because we had all those elements. We saw how we can benefit our clients and our solutions using Veritone's group technology. We saw a very strong vision about the future of TA, and we were complementary in many respects, right? Very strong in US on their side, very strong internationally on our side, very strong on the technology programmatic side. We have a huge network of ATSs and publishers that we can bring to the fold and really drive forward and drive faster. So that was the key element that made the difference, I think.
So on that network of, first of all, job boards, I think, is it over 2,000 job boards that you're integrated with?
Actually, it's even more than that. I would say more than 2,000 that are active as we speak. But there's also thousands of further integrations that clients use occasionally.
I remember the days when it became so, and I know it's still the case now, that if a job board wasn't integrated with Broadbean, then it just wasn't taken seriously as a job board, because so many customers already, they want to use Broadbean, and that would be a decision on whether they use a job board or not. If it's integrated with Broadbean, it's essential. And the crucial thing from the very beginning till now about Broadbean, from my perspective, is that it's smack in the middle of the industry. It's at the crossroads of all of this information. So not only are you sending out information to job boards and receiving it back, but you're integrating with multiple technologies across the board. And that means that you're in a position to have access to mountains of really valuable data. And of course, these days, that's where AI comes in. That's where you're able to make sense of that data and to learn from that. So on the AI side of things, how can AI learn from the behaviors of the patterns of recruiters, job seekers, and job advert performance? How can AI refine the process and make more intelligent decisions on behalf of customers?
Yeah, and as I said, like as I'm coming into Veritone, I'm learning a lot more about how AI works, right? Being an AI company ourselves. The key thing, though, is, and we can see that through the industry, is that the importance sometimes is not who only holds the technology or the algorithm or the model that we want to use to learn from, but to really have the data and the context on the data and the experience over time of handling that data to be able to train that AI, right? So that was a key point for us. Like, we have billions of points of data on performance of jobs with all the attributes, with knowing for almost half of our applicants the exact CV, with all the attributes of the applicant. And in many cases, also knowing the signals that the recruiter, user of Broadbean, gives us, like if this applicant was a good one, if it was shortlisted, if it was highly ranked. All those points of information that can really help in training the algorithms to identify which are the right channels, what's the right cost for that specific candidate, and not looking at just, recruitment performance and ad performance, but even look at the quality of the application in the end and the down funnel part of it, right? And that's where we feel that our data and PandoLogic's and Veriton's work on the technology side is really a marriage in heaven.
So would you say that the power of AI that PandoLogic have built over the years, married to the mountain of data that you have, means that
yes, you get to really build optimization models for budget distribution, for understanding like source quality, for understanding candidate quality, and the next, and you alluded to that, right? Our network of not just publishers, which, by the way, with people saying job boards are dead, we are building about 250 new job boards integrations every year. So just keep that in mind, right? For new channels that arose, and as you said, they come to us to get a route to market. Imagine that we also have like integrations with more than 100 ATS CRMs, right? And being able to connect the dots in the data is also really important. To not just have like the data that come from the advertising campaigns and performance, but also understanding, the source within the ATS context of the candidate, the status of the candidate within the ATS context. This is like where in the future, I believe, like we are building an ever improving and stronger process. And that's
so when you have integrations with all of those ATSs and all of those job boards, or the more likely they call themselves hiring platforms now, because a job board continually evolving. It's not the kind of job board we used to think about. But with access to the ATSs on the one side and the job boards and candidates on the other, you have that reach from beginning to end of the hiring process, and you're able to analyze the efficiencies that could be made, or to predict how recruitment can be done better. That kind of predictive analytics, I think, is the real value that you're able to bring. How is that going to evolve? How do you see that developing in the coming months?
And that's like the area of strength that we are bringing to the group as well, right? That we have not only already a large enough network, but we also, more importantly, have an integration framework that makes it faster than others to add more partners in the network, right? We have another interesting part is like we have more than I would say 10, 20 ATSs and CRMs at this point per year that actually build to our framework. So they come, they see our tools, they see how we want to receive jobs, how we want to feed candidates, and they build to our integration and to our APIs. So that's a really important part of the group. Of course, we also have a team that builds to APIs or integration frameworks that some of the big ATS and CRMs marketplaces provide. And it's not something that you can replicate or turn on, in a matter of months, right? It's knowledge that was built over the years. It's a framework that's evolving, and it's having the teams and the process that understand how to do this better and faster every time. And it's no mistake that some of the biggest ATS in the world like select us as like kind of their beta partner when they have a major new kind of API or integration to discuss it and be a partner with them. So that's where we feel that we, as the Broadbean team, bring a lot to the mothership.
Yeah, it occurs to me that the amount of information that you have on job boards and on the other side on ATSs, but particularly on job boards, is information that would be really valuable to them to make their service much more compelling. Do you work with job boards to give them advice on how they can work better, how they can become better places to advertise vacancies?
Yes, and I think that was actually one of the taboo themes in the past of how we were seeing the market, right? As Broadbean, we were sometimes too afraid to give feedback back to job boards and to say openly, like, this is what we see in the numbers, your performance is improving or decreasing. And I think one of the great things of working, as part of a bigger business is like, having the ability to provide even more in-depth information and feedback, and also be a lot more open about these things, right? I think nowadays, and the great thing is, like, we start comparing, sources or publishers based on price and quality of application and conversion rates. And people are used to see those numbers in front of them in the dashboards of, programmatic campaigns and agencies, and they're a lot more open about it. And I think that will be something we will do a lot more in the future.
Can I ask, and it's not always been especially clear to me, has the programmatic technology always been built into Broadbean, or is that something that you've previously, you would use external providers to work with?
So we used a kind of a build and partner model, I would say, in that sense. So we built the tracking mechanism and a user interface that was on top of our job posting interface, right? So it worked parallel. And we wanted to have, and we're building a dashboard that will house the results of both programmatic and multi-posting campaigns. So that part we built. On the part of the delivery, we're always working with partners. And that was another interesting anecdote, is when we were evaluating different advertising exchanges and solutions that we worked with, and we worked with a couple, not just one in the past. Technically, our evaluation about the PandoLogic solution was always coming first. It was very high because of our focusing internationally and their focusing in US. We didn't collaborate in the past as much, but we always thought highly of them. So when the time came to look at potential buyers of the business, it really made sense to.
I'll come back to the international side in a second, but just on that programmatic side, how we'll know that advertising on any vacancies on any platform, the billing models have continually evolved, and we see that with especially people like Indeed and ZipRecruiter and so on. How are you able to maintain connections with so many job boards where jobs are being advertised, and the different billing models that they'll have, whether it's someone's bought X number of credits, or that they're bidding per vacancy, or that there's limits on the number of applications and then you shut off a vacancy? How do you manage that? Because to me it would seem almost impossible to do.
No, look, as Broadbean, we always had as a principle that we will offer flexible workflows, right? So if the client wanted to integrate and run a campaign programmatically, we would offer that. If the client wanted to run their own buying and their own job board separately, they can do that, or through an agency, we could do that. If they want us to do the media buying and the budget management, we will also offer that. So we're very flexible, and we have clients that could, even within the same channel, use two different approaches depending on geography, right? So using a pay for performance programmatic model in North America, and maybe a pay per post model to operate and buy somewhere else. So that for us is not that difficult. It really comes down to, I would say, two things. One is what's the client preference, and the second is what's the market maturity. Because we still we're talking sometimes in the terms of like what's happening in the most advanced markets, but we post jobs in 180 countries, right? So if you want to post in a country where there's not enough, let's say, programmatic inventory right now, or enough publishers to work with, then you have to make that option. And one of the the key, I think, strong points that helps us work with multinational businesses and clients is that we are flexible enough and we have the workflow to accommodate that. Do you want to do full, 100% of your budget bought programmatically in North America? You can do that. Do you want to buy your own job board contracts in Latin America or Asia? You can still do that, right? So we won't enforce, let's say, our model of business to you, but we'll adapt to your preferred workflow.
Broadbean is although Broadbean is obviously headquartered in London, but has almost always been an international organization. You've got offices in the States, in Australia, in Europe, and I know that within the organization, the account managers, there are people who are speaking all the languages. So in terms of support, that's always been there. But in your position, you must be able to see the ebb and flow of the job market worldwide and have a much more three-dimensional picture of the hiring market globally. How do you see things just now with the information that you have to hand?
Yeah, I think that there are some trends that are very clear and visible to all, right? We have right now, if we see the publisher job board market, a very strong, I would say, duopoly of LinkedIn Indeed across the world, where they have a pretty global offering. They have a significant chunk of the market, in some calculations, over 50% of the market between those two, right? And then we have strong geographical, I would say, champions like SIG, like Stepstone in Europe, or InfoJobs in Spain, and that really kind of dominate the market, and a lot of markets that are in between those two, I would say, ends of the pendulum, right? So I would say there is a lot of movement towards like pay for performance and programmatic models. I expect this to continue, especially in the current economic, let's say, conditions globally. People will need to do more with less. And TA leaders will look at revisiting how they do things, right? And try to add to their agility. And by default, I think a programmatic or pay for performance model is a little bit more agile and needs less budget commitment up front, right? So I would expect that movement to continue. I would say that a lot of the TA leaders and the staffing leaders need to think also long term about their pretty much portfolio of acquiring traffic, right? They cannot, become, I would say, bound to a one-trick pony, pretty much, right? They have to have some kind of diversification plan that says, yes, I'm going to use the key sources where they are available, but I'm also have enough kind of diversifications of where I buy traffic from and how I buy traffic from to not always, I need to invest in my own traffic, my career site, my SEO efforts. I need to work with publishers, and I need to diversify that that work, and I need to be open to try new sources and niche sources all the time, right? So
we know that in the past 18 months following the pandemic, the volume of applications per vacancy has gone down considerably. Not in all sectors, but across the board, that's generally the case. And that goes to your point there, where companies need to think more in a more agile way about not only how they attract candidates, but how they go and find candidates. So I'm really interested in your talent search functionality, which I don't think is spoken about that much. Mostly it's talking about advertising vacancies. Can you tell us more about how that works and how that works in practice, maybe with if you've got any particular examples of how that's utilized?
Yeah, definitely. We have two very simple models. One we call talent search, and the other one is just search or external search. Talent search is about pretty much using the applicants that you buy, right? So the Broadbean talent search gives you visibility of the entire application funnel you have from all your sources in one easily searchable database, and with features like applicant ranking that can help you match and surface the right applicants faster. So that's for me, this is like a base solution that every recruiter should have in place, right? There's no need to to buy and buy again the same candidates. You need to all have a talent pipeline that you nurture and develop, and that's talent search. The other approach that even if you don't want to, I would say the reason that solution became very popular is a lot of our staffing clients don't want to overpopulate their ATS database because it makes it slower, noisier, and everything. Still, you can keep all those applications like in a separate, easily searchable database within Broadbean or within your ATS. And the second thing, external search, is having access to external databases. I would say in the last months, as you mentioned, I think the trend has reversed a bit. We are seeing a little bit more candidates in the market. We are seeing across the board the hiring trends have kind of like, in terms of like posting volumes and job volumes have become a little bit more flat. I would say even like slightly decreasing over the last quarters. And bound to that, it means there are more candidates in the market that are appearing. But we know that these trends are short-lived, right? It needs another cycle of economic growth, and then we will see the exact opposite again. We'll start talking about talent wars and the lack of candidates in the market. So people need to always have a plan and be prepared. So external search is accessing external databases, that job boards provide, or other services now increasingly, as we said, hiring marketplaces and more tools in the market like lead sourcing or VMS systems like provide.
So that's the area I would see that the AI power of PandoLogic would really help to make that candidate search much more intelligent and clever and reliable. So that the integration of that I can see being a huge boon.
They have a very exciting started as conversational. Now it's even, I would say, even a step beyond, not just conversational AI, but really generative AI that can engage a candidate, can ask questions, can help us fill from the simple things, an ATS screener questionnaire, but also like really engage and attract a candidate to show interest in a certain job, right? So the more we integrate those tools and be able to provide more services, I think will make it easier and faster to source the right candidate.
Are you able to share any particular success stories of how Broadbean has helped global clients improve their recruitment processes and find top talent? Are there particular companies that you can point to and say, well, this is what we've helped them achieve?
Yeah, there's we have like an ever increasing list of testimonials on the website. I'll just talk one of our latest success stories. We had one of the biggest clients of Broadbean and agencies in the world, Michael Page. They wanted to completely streamline their process of attracting candidates in France. Like France is one of the, I would say, most complex and different recruitment markets in Europe. A lot of job boards in the market. I think we created a process where we automate posting to close to 40 different job boards based on an automated posting process, right? So now the recruitments don't have to spend the time, frantically posting jobs in different sources in all those 40 different sites. But with simple rules, we can say, okay, that jobs that are under this particular brand or under this particular industry should go to this mix of 10 niche, 3 generalist, and 2 career sites we find relevant. So all this effort is completely automated, which frees a huge amount of time from the recruitment teams to focus on selecting the right candidates instead of actually posting the jobs. And I think that was one of the most complex projects we attacked the last 12 months, and we're really proud of it. And it showcases all these different things that now we are discussing about going the same way across the world.
So in the position that you are with Broadbean, having so many tentacles, if you like, within so many other organizations, not only employers, but job boards and ATSs and so on, as everyone in industry to do with HR and technology, you're in a position to influence your clients and your suppliers and partners. As a company, as I mentioned before, Broadbean has a big personality and is a very progressive and go ahead company. How are you able to not only prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion within your company and build a culture that works for you, how are you able to maybe influence your clients in that regard as well by example?
Yeah, I think the one area that we are starting to become a lot more vocal with clients, as I said in the past, we were kind of further skeptical, is like and what we are trying to do, I would say, with a lot of clients today is like it's an overall audit of their their whole media buying strategy and delivery, right?
Yeah.
So we offer this process of like pretty much a free audit. Look how they do things, give recommendations, and not all the recommendations are definitely do this or buy this from us. It's about sound practices. There are things that across the entire recruitment and advertising workflow have to be very clear, right? To have clear visibility from the source of the candidate to what's happening with them within your recruitment workflow down funnel, and understand small nuances like that. You cannot always wait for the hire to judge the effectiveness of a publisher, right? There are things like earlier recruitment signals like shortlisting, which are really important to tell a publisher they're doing a good job or not, and change the behavior of your advertising budget. Practices like integrating your tech stack, right? We're talking still with clients that have 5 different vendors that don't talk to each other in the process of like getting a job from the ATS, posting it to their website, posting it outside, collecting the data and matching the data flow together. Like these are things that are I think like basic principles that they have. We have global clients with no visibility of their budget spent, right? They don't have a way to centralize what they spend. They don't know what they spend in some cases, where they spend it, if it's effective or not. And that for us, the larger a business grows, needs to put in tooling to be able to have that visibility instead of relying on individual people and recruiters everywhere to do their their groundwork. So I think this is the advice like we want to give to our clients, is that if you are not sure about how to think strategically about your whole recruitment and attraction cycle, let's have a conversation and let's look at some principles that with Broadbean and Veriton and PandoLogic or with someone else you are able to put into practice and improve your process.
I love that consultative approach where you're able to give advice or even push back on clients who are could do with some guidance on how to develop what they do. So in terms of the months and year ahead, the integration with Veriton and PandoLogic, how do you see that developing from a customer's point of view of Broadbean? What are they going to see visibly in the next few months?
Yeah, as I said, like I think the first point that they will see hopefully very quickly and by the start of September, it's clearly the whole set of programmatic solutions that we offer within the Broadbean platform, the campaign and single job campaigns, which is actually an area where PandoLogic is particularly strong and is really helpful for smaller clients and kind of one-off or peak campaign projects to have that ability to use that within our interface as well. So I would say that's the starting point. The second point for us, like really key, is PandoLogic has this amazing predictive analytics capability right now with enough data to be really detailed and really down to specific jobs and locations in North America. We want to use our data outside North America to provide that same capability. I would say it will probably take more like 6 months or 9 months down the road till we are able to expand this outside North America. This is another point that excites me. And then, we talked about longer term ideas of really using the AI tooling that Veriton Group evolves, conversational AI, in things like if we see the entire cycle, there are all these areas And sometimes I'm saying like people focus on the crazy difficult project at the end of the line, which is have an avatar like recruiter experience that imitates a person, right? Before we get there, and it's not that at some point maybe technology even gets there, and it is something we need to consider and see how it's done, while still maintaining, I would say, like the visibility, the integrity, and the transparency of the platform. There are all these solutions that we can provide in engaging candidates, in improving the programmatic delivery, in understanding the quality of application, in connecting the dots in the recruitment funnel between the ATS, the publisher, and the posting platform. So there's a lot of areas where we can help with writing job descriptions with AI. We can help evaluate the applications. We can help write interview questions or answer interview questions. For the engaging with the candidates through conversational AI. So there's other areas that we are going to develop using the whole tooling of the group, and we're really eager to find clients and that are willing to follow in that journey. But that will take probably a little bit more time.
I would imagine that both for your engineering team and for people in sales and accounts is an exciting time, because they're thinking about how the product can develop down the line, and that's the services that maybe clients have been asking for. They're going to be coming. So having a roadmap to that functionality is a really exciting thing for clients.
And what I'm saying is the difference is, somebody told me about CERN, that everybody's talking about AI and ChatGPT and extensions and open source. The difference, there are some providers that will just take some ready-made tools and put them in the process, right? And there will be some that will make a bigger investment into AI, create the teams and the departments in the thing. The great thing with Veriton is building core AI technology, AI that's used not only in recruitment advertising, it's used on traditional advertising, which is in some ways way ahead of recruitment in large media and advertising organizations. And it's using it also in other areas like compliance and government like that. So it has a really the capability to go well beyond the simple kind of introduction of a ChatGPT use case somewhere along the journey, right? But really,
a huge amount of that. So in background, I don't know if I pointed this out before, but TAtech has had a long association with PandaLogic over the years, and PandaLogic obviously member of TAtech, and by extension, Broadbean are now part of the family. In fact, Matt O'Connor was our closing keynote at our main conference in Austin just a few weeks ago. And of course, on the other side of things, Broadbean have been long-term supporters of the NORAs, the National Online Recruitment Award. So in a way, it for me, I find it really exciting that the two companies coming together that are such a good match. And really looking forward to seeing Broadbean and of course the Veriton family at our conference in December in the NORAs in December in London. So it's there's a lot coming ahead. Alex, when next I see you in person, I will have a ton of other questions to ask. And sadly for people watching, we have to be limited on time. It's been great having you as a guest. Thank you very much for agreeing to come along. I know that people are very interested in how Broadbean is developing, and around the world how the partnership is gonna shape up.
Can I say just a thank you to TAtech as well? Like a little known fact is, one of the first 6 months I was with Broadbean, I went to one of your events, and it was the first time I heard the PandaLogic presentation by Terry Baker, at the time the CEO. And when I said, like, this is something we need to do at Broadbean, this is the way we want to go. It was very little present at the time in Europe, but I have to say one last thank you, because you provided that inspiration. You know, sometimes as I think Steve Jobs, you connect the dots only when you look back. And that was the first dot in a long history that started this journey. So thank you, TAtech.
Brilliant. Great to hear. Was that in Lisbon?
Yes, that was in Lisbon. Yeah, you're really correct about that.
I was there. So that's great to know. And connecting the dots is exactly what TAtech is all about. So I'm glad that we've played a tiny part. And that's really fantastic to hear. So Alex, again, thank you very much for joining us. Everyone who's watching live or on replay, then thank you. We will have more shows coming up in the coming weeks, and of course it's kind of event season over the summer. So if I don't see you through one of these shows, then hopefully I'll see you in person. But in the meantime, thanks very much, Alex, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you,
Stephen.
Bye-bye.
Bye.